Hey guys, Ash here, Race Out Legends. Welcome to the video. Sending some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you're going through something today and you need them out there. Today, we're going to do something really fun. I'm going to go ambitious mode, 10 out of 10, and I'm going to try to power rank every single fusion of all time, going back to February of 2019, the first fusion in the game in Sir Nicholas, and then all the way up until Titus, the most recent at the time of this recording. I'm sure it's not going to age well, because nowadays they throw like a new fusion every month, it feels like, at us. Back in the day, it used to be, well, not that well. You can see, like, it's kind of cool. This is, by the way, hellhades.com / I'll just link it for you guys in case you guys want to peruse with me as we go through these champions. So I'm trying to not to be here for a whole hour or two. Just going to give some quick thoughts on these champions. We'll pull some of them up in the background as well, starting with the OG Sir Nicholas, the very first fusion of all time in Raid Shadow Legends. Hellhades.com gives him a 4 out of 5. And I gotta say, man, this guy, he's not awful, but he's not great. He used to be like considered a very good HP-based damage dealer. In today's world, he is not the best damage dealer, but he does have this ability, Goodwill, still pretty solid. And of course, Lady Noelle made him a hell of a lot better if you have both, right, on your account. We'll give him I'm gonna give him a 3.5 out of 5. Shamrock! Oh, good old Shamrock. I think Shamrock is super underrated in the game. At the same time, though, he's not like the #1 champion you're dying to have come out of a shard. Let's be real here, right? But I do like his abilities, some decreased speed, some turn meter manipulation. They give him a buff on the Lucky Charms, which is a really good buff. Now everybody gets basically what they need. He's super fast. He's super tanky. He is I'm gonna call him a 3.5 out of 5. Foley, man. I love me some Foley. I have this weird thing for Foley that I think I like him a little bit. You guys have any champions like this? You just like him a little bit more than you think they're you know, the average player does. I love Foley, man. He'll remove stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, and then instantly removes the debuffs, heals them, and then boosts his turn meter by 50%. So that living armor is a busted passive. Moreover, he has a block revive, a hard-hitting sealed fate on his A3 on an AoE, and then he has a quad hitter on his A2 and a quad hitter on his A1. He's still on my main Fire Knight Hard 10 team. He is also on my main Event Dungeon team. So I like Foley a lot. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 5. Harvest Jack. Oh, Harvest Jack, man. This guy looks so cool. I remember when he came out, he was the same update as Brachus the Shifter and Madame Ceres and Miscreated Monster. And I remember just wanting this guy so bad. I'm like, I want the pumpkin head. It just takes me back to a different time in life, right? An innocent time where I just wanted my pumpkin head, my jack-o'-lantern. Harvest Jack is one of the coolest champions in the game, I think, aesthetically. That being said, he's been power crept quite a bit in his kit overall. A lot of synergy between fear and true fear and manipulating your enemy team. I'm gonna give him I'm gonna give Harvest Jack a 2.5 out of 5. I hate to do it, but I gotta be real here. Brachus the Shifter, some of the better raw damage out there in the game, especially back in the day. Nowadays, again, maybe a little bit of a power creep on this champion. Well, maybe a lot of power creep on this champion, but he's still like, I don't know, I kind of like him still, right? He's got a single hitter on his A1, which is unfortunate because he has a 6-time hitter on his A2 ability, and then a pretty decent hard-hitting Hunter's Howl ability as well. Good for kind of raw damage, clan boss, etc. But I'm gonna give him I don't know, 2.5 out of 5 again. I think he's a C champion. Tormund the Cold, man, he just broke the game when he was released, right? He broke the game. He was so strong, they had to go in and nerf him, what, 2-3 times over the years? He was one of the most broken champions. There was no restrictions to freezes. It just happened every time anybody tried to do anything, get a buff, turn meter fill, whatever, right? It was insane. He still is very, very good. He was even better. So when he was released, he was a 5 out of 5. I can say that definitively, but I think nowadays he's probably I'm gonna give him a 4 out of 5. Be kind to him. Let's go ahead and move on over in the time capsule to 2020, in the time machine, I should say. So we go all the way down to the end is Rhodos, the Lost Groom. Okay, who am I kidding? Did you see yesterday's video? In case you didn't, you should watch it because I'm biased, but you should watch it. Just Rhodos, still doing Rhodos things. To me, he's a 5 out of 5, not close. He's the best legendary nuker in the game. Granted, no AoEs, but I mean, he can kill everybody one at a time. You win some, you lose some, right, guys? Can Rhodos, oh my God. You know, Rotos is my favorite legendary damage dealer in all of Raid Shadow Legends. Back in the day, he was busted. Today, he's busted. They give him a 4 out of 5. I give him a 5 out of 5. Perfect champion, in my opinion. Killian the Lucky. They give him a 3.5 out of 5. I think that's right. I'm higher on Killian, so is Hellhades.com, apparently, than your average player. I think he doesn't have one area of the game where he stands out in. That's kind of the knock on him. But he has a super cool passive. He has cool aesthetics. And he has an AoE block active skills, a great lockout move. He deals some big damage with Headringer. It's also a 2-turn stun. Resets the cooldown if the target's killed, which does happen a decent amount of times. So, you know, he doesn't have his spot in the game, his niche in the game, other than wave content, faction wars, but you could do a lot worse. So I think that maybe a 3 out of 5 is more fair. Skullord Vargal actually also got a pretty decent buff. He has some of the best stats in the game, doesn't he, guys? I mean, super tanky, super fast. He's just really cool. He got a buff, kind of a rework, an AoE decrease attack. He has a 2-turn with a provoke on his A2. Great provoker, strengthen on all allies, basically 100% uptime. I think he's a really solid champion. I'll give him a 3.5 out of 5. Gerbtuck Mossbeard. He's a weird champion, right? Because he's on a lot of the best teams in a lot of the most important areas of the game, right? Specifically Hydra Clan Boss. However, he's like so one-dimensional, right? He's maybe two-dimensional, to be fair, right? He can do a little bit of healing, but he's really there for the poisons on your allies, Trunda, aka, to get more damage, right? Titus, the best damage dealers, to make them even more offensive with the poisons, escalating their damage. He does have a nice 2-turn cleanse, as well as a block buff. So again, very, very good in Hydra. I think 3.5 out of 5 is fine on this champion. He's unique. Same thing with Contra the Cyclone. I love Contra the Cyclone. I really loved her a lot when when Hydra first came out. She was like my main girl with a provoke. She has one of the nastiest provokes because has a 75% chance of placing a provoke for 1 turn on enemies under 5 or more debuffs at the start of this champion's turn. She can place her debuffs on weak hits, and she only has this move. Her only active skill is a 3-turn cooldown, AoE, ×3 hitter, putting these random buffs. Some really powerful buffs here, debuffs, excuse me, decrease attack, decrease speed, big version of weaken, block buffs here. Really, really good skill. Very interesting champion. I really love her. That being said, she's not as good as she once was. A lot of these champions have been crept a bit in the game. So I think a 3.5 out of 5 is fair on Contra the Cyclone. And of course, these are my objective ratings. You know, I'm evaluating all these champions as somebody who's has almost all of them. I'll point out the ones that I don't have, but also as an endgame player. But I am trying to factor in, if I was to get these champions kind of in the mid-game, I think is a general consensus on what I'm looking at for all these champions in terms of their evaluation, their score. How excited would I be? Anyway, Kreela Witcharm. See, back in the day, she was like a 4.5, maybe a 5 out of 5. I do think she's, you know, still effective, but not the most compelling ally attacker anymore in the game. When she was added to the game, there wasn't many ally attackers in Raid, especially good ones. She has no aura, she has no passive. She feels a little old school to me. She has a stun, which is nice, and then she has a 3 allies join in the ally attack. The cool thing is the 3-turn cooldown, which is not the norm, although there are other champions like Black Tusk with that ability. She has an AoE, hits decently hard as well, little shield on the A1. I'm going to give her a 3.5 out of 5. All right, Drakel the Gaunt. Drakel I'm not a huge fan of. He's got a decent support kit. I must say that I did run him in a bolster set. He has a 107 base speed, not too bad. But I think a 2.5 out of 5 is kind of the score I would give Drakel. Vergamkar, I think 3.5 out of 5 is a fair score for Vergamkar. They gave him another big rework a couple years back. He was very meh. I would say maybe a 2.5 before the buff. But now he's bringing up a small cleanse, increased defense, and a shield on a 3-turn cooldown, and then a heal reduction and a decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown, removing a buff from each enemy. Having both of those skills on 3-turn cooldowns on AoEs is really solid for progression, honestly. So 3.5 out of 5, I think, is a fair grade. Elagaius, man, I'm going to give him a 1.5 out of 5. I think he's probably one of the worst fusions of all time. Bergoth the Malformed is an epic fusion. 2 out of 5. I am not a fan of this dude. It's funny, he was released right before Vogoth, right? And I remember thinking that Vogoth was going to kind of suck, because whenever this champion is attacked, heals all allies except this champion by 20% of the damage received. And then Vogoth has a 50%, right? But I was like, the canister barely heals at all. So, like, maybe Vogoth will be the same thing, and then I was wrong. And then Vogoth ended up being one of the more competent healers. Suffice it to say, he's no Vogoth. He does have a provoke on an AoE. Granted, it is, what, a 60% chance. And then he has, you know, what, continuous heal? Nah. They used to do epic fusions in this game, by the way. They've had a few. Husker was another one we'll talk about in a bit. I think, God, I'm not a big fan. 1.5 out of 5. Same thing as Elegias there. Pixneal, 3.5 out of 5. After all of her buffs, I think 3.5 out of 5 is a fair score for Pixneal. People still hate on this champion. She was a Christmas champion back in 2020. Yeah, that's where we are. Has it been that long? Oh, my word. Oh my word. They changed her to have an AoE freeze on a 4-turn cooldown, increased defense, continuous heals on her A2. It has some nice immunity to freeze, some freeze synergy, anti-freeze synergy, whatever you want to call it. You know, good control and support champion now, but progression champion. So 3.5 out of 5 or 3 out of 5, somewhere in that territory is fine with me. She still gets a lot of hate, though, because she was so bad upon release. Her kit name made no sense. That A3 was ridiculously bad. Iron Brago. This guy was the man. Hades gives him a 4.5 out of 5. I think he's fallen off a little bit as well, unfortunately. It's sad to see all these champions that were beasts, but to keep it real, you know, they're not beasts anymore necessarily, right? That being said, Iron Brago still has a very cool passive. Increased defense of all allies by 10% of this champion's defense. Scales very well. This was all the rage back in Clan Boss days. We were focused on Demon Lord Clan Boss. That was the main kind of zeitgeist of raid content and strategy back in the day when he was released. And he has an increased defense on a 3-turn duration for a 3-turn cooldown, right? So 100% uptime with the boosted defense, with some decent damage from a defense-based champion. Again, he was all the rage. Nowadays, kind of a faction war champion or a progression champion. I'm going to give him a 3.5 out of 5. He's not awful, certainly, but he's not as good as he once was. Same thing with Astralon, really, to be fair. Astralon also, did he get a buff at one point? I think he did. I don't know, maybe he didn't get a buff. He has an AoE stun, and it was a big deal when he was released. An AoE stun on a 4-turn cooldown, 100% stun, whoa! Nowadays, that's nothing to write home about, right? We got Ragashas, we've got a ton of AoE stuns on a 3-turn cooldown in the game. Goffred, so he's not that great in this move as he was when he was released. It's still a good move, though. He can still deal some nice damage, but, you know, he's Countess Lix's companion champion, by the way. Astralon's cool, really cool aesthetic too. It's hard to hate on this dude, but you know, he's not like, I think 3.5 out of 5 is fair. So Yoshi the Drunkard, man, he's good for bomb setup, I would say. Outside of that, you know, he's not that great, unfortunately, right? He does bring a decreased accuracy and a burn, which is kind of helpful. He has a stun on the A1, kind of cool. But increased attack, increased accuracy. He's not that fast. He does bring speed in all battles, though. I don't think he's the trashiest champion, but let's be real. He's not that great either. I think a 3 out of 5 is fair for him. Brogni, they give him a 5 out of 5. I wouldn't go that high anymore on Brogni. That being said, the whole shield synergy is definitely back in a big way now with Titus in the game. Brogni back in the day was just an absolute must-fuse game changer, 5 out of 5 without a doubt. Nowadays, I still think he's very good. I'll give him a 4 out of 5. Really good kit, right? The grow shield, the shield placement, but also bringing block debuffs, increase attack. He's bringing a lot to the table, and the burn on the A1 ability. Maybe even 4 might be a little bit of a snub on this guy, maybe a 4.5. Rule the Huntmaster. Unfortunately, as much as I want to get behind Rule the Huntmaster, I'm not high on him. I've tried to be. I built him. I did a video showcasing what he could be, especially when they add more Hex champions to the game. But unfortunately, I just can't totally get behind him. He's super squishy. His damage is okay. Decreased speed of enemies under Hex debuffs by 5%. Also increased, the damage enemies under Hex debuffs receive by 10%. So this should be just busted. The passive alone. However, his damage is just okay. And I'm not sure he's value over replacement from a bunch of different options out there. What are the reviews? Ooh, the reviews are very bad on him. Yeah, as much as I want to like him, I just can't. So I strongly disagree with the 4 out of 5. Unfortunately, I'll give him like a 2.5 out of 5. All right, Herndig. They give him a 4.5 out of 5. Who knows? Some of these ratings may have not been updated in a while, to be fair, by the way. Herndig. 4.5 out of 5. I wouldn't go quite that high, but man, this little dwarf is still very good. Is still very good. He has decreased defense and he has weakened, both big versions on different abilities in his kit. He hits hard. He has turn meter decrease. Full turn meter decrease. He's just a really good incompetent nuker and debuffer, right? I like him. He's not like my most wanted champion, or he wouldn't be my most wanted champion, but I think giving him a 4 out of 5 is fair. Verself the Grim. He's interesting. He's an HP-based damage dealer. Also has some like support in his kit as well. I think probably a 3 out of 5 is fair for him. He's not the worst. He's not the best. Mother Cybele. AoE decreased speed on the A1. She's got a nice revive on death, can be handy in some restrictive areas like Sand Devil, in Cintranos, and Soulcross. I know I rely on her in a few different areas, and she has 115 base speed. Whew, that's nasty. That being said, I think a 3 out of 5 is good. She's solid, but more of a niche pick. Rorik Wormbane, 3 out of 5. There's two types of people out there. People who are big fans of Rorik Wormbane and think he's underrated, and those who think that he is overrated or just trash. I hate to say it, but I fall in the latter camp, right? Decreased turn meter on his A2 ability, excuse me. And then he has ignore defense, a kind of a big boy attack here with ignore defense here. Always uses skill instead of the default skill when counterattacking. Will not be blocked by block active skills. That's certainly unique, right? Has a stun on the A1, immune to stun. I don't know. I'm going to give him a 2 out of 5. You can fight me in the comments. Siegfried the High Shield. Nice provoker, shield, strengthen. He brings a decent amount to the table, but I think 3.5 out of 5 is a really good score for him. Dead on, right? Solid support champion, solid provoke, but his provoke is 75% when booked. For legendary, I'm really looking for 100%, honestly. So I think 3.5 out of 5 is a fair score. Vlad, after his buffs, man, Vlad was kind of meh. Some might still think he's meh. But after his buff, he's not the let's be real. He's not the champion that you want to be coming out of a legendary Void Shard in most cases, but he's not that bad. He has a really good kit. Stealing turn meter on his AoE on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2. On his A3, this used to be single target. They reworked it. Big buff. Big buff. In AoE, decreased defense and block active skills for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. You guys may have noticed, block active skills in this game, all but a couple champions out there, are all on a 4-turn cooldown. He has it on a 3 with decreased defense. Pretty freaking strong move here, especially considering you can get back to it even faster than 3 turns because of the turn meter steal on his A2. So he's not the best Void Legendary, but I actually agree with a 4 out of 5 ranking on Vlad. I think he's underrated. Vildrax, 2.5 for this epic bug, I think is a fair score. Tatura Rhymehide, 4.5 out of 5, a big score on the... What's the animal? The dog? Is it what do you call it? A luck dragon? A little, I don't know, a little Atreyu action going on here. I don't know. I like the aesthetic of Tatura. I think they should add some more animal characters to the game. What about you guys? A good kit. Block debuffs, increase defense on a 3-turn cooldown. Very solid. And then a perfect veil and a shield and some damage and a kind of a cool passive here. A lot to the table here from this tanky champion, specifically very good in Hydra. I wouldn't go 4.5, but I'm comfortable going a 4 out of 5 on Tatura. Upon release, though, I think a 4.5, but now just more options, as we keep saying over and over again here. We're going to 2022, guys. Karato Fox Hunter, a 4 out of 5. I think that's a little kind for my liking. He is the companion champion to Yameko. They both get quite a bit better when they're on the same team, but also they have like some... I've always thought they had like too much overlap in their kit if they're on the same team, because they're locking out, but then double locking out and unresistably locking out. Not that they're any worse, but he can deal some nice damage for a Spirit Affinity champion. He has a 2-turn stun, which is really nice to have as well. He's not an awful champion, but I would give him probably a 3 out of 5. There's a lot of download links that use Karato as a freebie on starting your account as well. You know, certainly early on, he could be a capable nuker, but I'm not in love with the champion. As a matter of fact, I'd rather have like a Genzin or somebody like that, even for damage on the same faction, same affinity. Nari the Lucky, 3.5 out of 5. I don't know. He's an interesting champion, right? I know that YST loves this dude. I don't hate this dude, but I don't think I love him quite quite that much. He's going to decrease accuracy, decrease resistance on an AoE on his A2, and he has an AoE provoke, 100% on a 4-turn cooldown. He has counterattack where he can steal buffs. Really cool kit. I love the synergy here. In his kit as well. I tried him out a little bit in Faction Wars hard mode. I ended up replacing him with somebody else. He's a fun champion, a cool champion. I think a 3 out of 5 is a fair score for him personally. Gaius the Gleeful is really one of the better bombers for legendary champions, at least in the game. He has an AoE bomb with sleep. He can also decrease detonation, and he has the detonation on the passive as well, or putting the bombs rather. Does he have the detonation or the bombs? I get him confused, passive confused with Soul Drinker sometimes. Where is he? Right in front of my face. He is going to instantly detonate all bombs on all enemies whenever he's killed. So you can have some like cool combo moves with him. It's not really like a meta strategy, but sacrifice him with a Valkyrie after he places his bombs and instant kill everybody with the Death's Bargain. I don't know. Either way, I think a 3.5 out of 5 is a fine score for him. He's just such a niche champion, right? Arena, bomb, you know, bomb champions. I feel like we need another boss that is useful. Bombs are very useful against them, excuse me. Bivald the Thorn. I absolutely agree with this high score out of a 4 out of 5 on Bivald. Bivald the Thorn is a champion that I relied on heavily in Faction Wars. Just such a cool combination of damage, of control, and of support, right? He brings shields, he brings heals, he brings leech, he brings strengthen on himself. The coolest thing about him, though, is that he can place his debuffs on weak hits. Not many champions have that ability. That's very, very strong, especially on a spirit-based affinity champion. I've always been a big fan of this champion. I think he's still very, very good to this day, although maybe a little bit niche. I think 4 out of 5 is a fair score. Helikath, 4.5 out of 5. Man, when he came into the game, he changed everything. He was busted strong. He's been crept a little bit, just like every other champion here, but he's still very effective. I think 4 out of 5 is fair for Helikath. He really changed Demon Lord Clan boss, all the Helikath teams with DeadwoodJedi.com, man. I mean, even the arena, he was used a lot to counter Taurus's, especially because of the block damage, right, that he brings for your team. You know, less of a meta champion, certainly in PvP, than he once was, even in PvE, so that's why I'll downgrade him to a 4 out of 5. Still a very good champion, though. Walking Tomb Drang, I'm going to stay with a 4 out of 5. He's on my Faction Wars Hard Stage 21 team. The burns, the irresistible burn on the 3-turn cooldown, man, before he came along, all we had was Ignatius, right? Ignatius has an HP burn on a 5-turn cooldown when booked that can't be resisted. That's it. That's all we had for irresistible burns. And then he came in, Walking Tomb Drang, one of the most underrated champions in the game, in my opinion, with the irresistible burn on a 3-turn cooldown. Instant activation can't be resisted on his A1. And then, oh, by the way, one of the better heals in the game on his A3. AoE heal, equalize HP to the highest level. Man, so underrated. I'm tempted to even go 4.5 out of 5 on Walking Tomb Drang. So good. And burns good everywhere, right? Lonathero. This guy, people hated on this dude for some reason when he was introduced as a fusion, but I've always been a fan. Because a decent shield, and he's got ally attack. Having ally attack in this game is like a little cheat code to automatic 3.5 out of 5 minimum. Is that what we had Karela at? I give him a 4 out of 5, right? Very good, especially in Fire Knight, you know? Okay, Nagorio, another epic fusion. He can actually deal a little bit of damage. I think 2.5. Maybe I'll give him a 3 out of 5. Mighty Ukko, legendary fusion. Very interesting and unique legendary champion in the game, right? I still like Mighty Ukko. Love those nipple rings. Mighty Ukko. AoE decreased attack, AoE buff removal, block buffs, decreased accuracy. A beautiful move here. One of my favorites out there. The only thing that annoys me about Mighty Ukko is that he'll use the increased speed on a 4-turn cooldown when booked and not have the revive when you need it. He's not super tanky either, right? But this Totem Warden is so nasty. You can steal buffs every time, no cooldown, the enemy places them, 50% chance to steal, and you protect them. They're protected buffs. Really busted passive, very unique kit for a reviver, pretty fast at 109 base speed. I think 4.5 maybe. I think that's a fair grade. Marinix. super cool looking champion, but underwhelming for a legendary. Not a total trash champion, but really does feel like she. Double check. No nip rings over there. I think it feels like she almost should be an epic champion, right? AoE Hex and decreased defense. That's about it. A decent amount of damage, but nothing crazy. You know, I think that I would actually go a little bit lower than 3.5. Unfortunately, I would go all the way down to 2.5 out of 5. Morrigan, 4 out of 5. Wow, I'm high on Morrigan. I'm not sure I would have went 4, but maybe that's accurate. An Amos killer and a half. It's a shame we can't use her on every rotation, though. Heal reduction at the start of every turn on the enemy with the lowest HP. Protected. Busted. I love the turn meter manipulation. Nice speed here. 112 speed in all battles by 19%. Steal all buffs. True fear on all enemies. Screw it. We'll go 4 out of 5. Hoskarul. One of an actual really solid epic fusion here in Hoskarul. I went for him. I mean, he was an epic. He was easy. They don't do epic. I think Hoskarul was the last epic fusion, right? We'll find out. But a solid champion, right? Remove stun, places an increased defense, increased resistance, granted a 4-turn cooldown, but an AoE stun at a 75% land rate with a 3-turn cooldown. Decent damage here. We're looking at like, I don't know, Grush the Mangler type damage from Hoskarul. I think maybe a 3.5, maybe a 4 out of 5. Nishak Vermin Lord, 4. Did I say best legendary bomber on what's it, Gaius the Gleeful? Did I say that? Oh man, Gaius the Gleeful rather. I was wrong. I totally forgot about Nishak. How could I? Nishak Vermin Lord, I will redeem myself right now, is by far and away the second best bomber in all of Raid Shadow Legends after Cometus, and by far and away, leaps and miles better than Gaius the Gleeful in terms of bombers. The Bombo Killer, all the extra poisons protected when the bombs go away, the decreased detonation, the extra turn mechanic, the bombs on the A1. Oh man, I mean, Nishak is built different. He is a meta bomber in a game where bombs aren't meta. 4.5 out of 5, I totally agree with. 2023, guys, 2023. Let me know in the comments below, when did you start playing the game? What fusion was going on? Pythion, really solid. A 5 out of 5. A perfect 5 out of 5. I wouldn't go that high on Pythion. However, I'm really splitting hairs here because I think that Pythion is a 4.5 or a 4 out of 5. An AoE revive, a really strong heal and cleanse with the block debuffs, everything that we want from a cleanse here, right? And then we have the damage mitigation on the passive. I'm gonna go a 4.5 out of 5. Operating Clanfather, man, 3 out of 5. Definitely a lot better after his buff. A lot better. Very, very good healer. But most importantly, very good in Chimera with all this turn meter fill. He's no Senna Amberheart, but he's the next best thing in terms of the turn meter fill that we get every time a continuous heal goes off, right? So a really good buff on this champion. I like him. I think 3.5 out of 5 is what I would score him. Oella is not a bad champion. Really good healer, increased resistance, solid champ. I'll go, I think 4 out of 5 is okay. Supreme Elhain. Supreme Elhain is a really good damage dealer. She really is. I don't think any of the Supremes are, you know, S tier for Void Legendaries. But Supreme Elhain, even over Supreme Galek, who I'm sure everybody would choose, especially in Hydra, which I would too. But Supreme Elhain, something about her, I don't know. She really smacks. But she's just another nuker at the end of the day too, you know? So I think 4 out of 5 is a fair score. I was going to probably go 3.5, but whatever. We'll go 4. Razovarg. I didn't go for the Razovarg fusion. I was kicking myself for a long time because of it. But I pulled him subsequently, and man, this guy can deal a lot of damage and just speed on speed on speed on speed for days, right? Each increased speed buff placed by this champion increases this champion's speed by 5 up to 100. So in longer battles, you're getting increased speed, you're getting really good damage, increased accuracy. I think a 4 out of 5 is a fair score. Jetney the Giant, 4 out of 5, a little bit high for me. AoE decreased defense, as well as some decent damage, right? So Jetney, she's the Alsgore Crimson Helm companion champion. And like they do a lot of the time, unfortunately, right? I feel like, where is Jetney? Okay, there she is. I feel like Alsgore was a better champion overall, right? And he was the one not available. Same thing on like Hansel and Gretel. I think that Hansel was way better than Gretel, and of course Gretel was the fusion. So Jetni's good for damage, and like I said, some ignore defense. Oh, I said an AoE decrease. Oh, she does have that. My bad. I think she's all right. I would frankly give her a 3 out of 5, a little bit lower than the website is. Laracia, after the buff, I think she's a 4 out of 5. I think she's incredibly underrated. The cow kind of sucked, I'm not going to lie. But they gave her a big buff. What are their better buffs that they've done this year? AoE decrease resistance, decrease accuracy with turn meter fill. And then a block debuffs, increase accuracy on all allies with a turn meter fill of 20% on a 3-turn cooldown. And then she has fill turn meter every time a buff is removed, transferred, or stolen, or expires. There's a lot going on here. Maybe a 3.5 out of 5, but really solid champion. Newt, 5 out of freaking 5, of course. I mean, he just redefined a lot of the things in this game, right? The strongest enemy max HP champion in the game. Upon release and arguably to this day, this blessed bash. Moreover, such great control on the A1, AoE that deals some damage too. 5 out of 5. Emic, fallen off after the nerf to Taunt and Hydra. Remember that whole rework? Not an awful champion, but I would probably give him a 3.5 out of 5 now. Strategos Insolent actually is used on some of the better teams, especially with Fina, but I think 3.5 is a fair score. Bambus 4-leaf. Oh man, Bambus. Some people love Bambus, some people hate Bambus. I'm unfortunately more towards the latter camp. I don't think he's the worst champion in the game. I'm not saying he's absolute trash, but in good base stats, there's some stuff to like about him. But to me, even though he has a very cool kit, I don't think on a lot of teams that he's going to be value over replacement for who you'd normally be having on the team, you know? So unfortunately, I'm going to go 2.5 out of 5. Timid the Fool. Timid the Fool is a fun freaking champion. 3.5 out of 5. To me, he's mainly a wave clear, right? Of course, he's the companion champion to Kaja the Rai as well. They're both a lot better when they're on the same team. He's great against waves. He's tanky. He can deal some damage. He has an extra turn mechanic. He has True Fear. He's polymorph proof on his A2. I think a 3.5 out of 5 is a good score for him. Yurger the Worm Eater is a 4 out of 5 here on the rankings. Interesting. I'm not that high on Yurger the Worm Eater, but he can be handy. He has AoE buff removal and a weaken on a 3-turn cooldown, increase accuracy, increase defense, or increase attack on allies whose attack or defense is higher, right? So overall, a fine kit, great for faction wars areas like that. I don't think he excels in any one area, but I think he's a jack of all trades type of champion. Maybe a 3.5 out of 5 would be my score. Blizzard the Howler. I actually did not go for Blizzard the Howler on my account, and I kind of regretted it after I saw him soloing some content. So I actually do not have this champion, but especially Fire Knight and Sand Devil, where he can basically solo content, very good. Still kind of a niche champion, I would say, but having that freeze on Fire Knight hard, having more freeze, good control, I don't know, it's kind of a cool champion, right? Revive on death again, very good. In Sand Devil, I think a 3.5, 4 out of 5 might be in order there. Zinogre Blade Master. Oh, Zinogre. People loved this champion. I always forget that she is, for whatever reason, I always think she should be even though she's clearly a Shadowkin, that she's a barbarian for some reason. Listen, she's got quad hitter, triple hitter, great for Fire Knight, another quad hitter, so many debuffs, a lot of utility here, even just for a single target champion. She brings increased speed, for example, on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown from a damage dealer. You don't see that every day. I'm a little bit less high on her, and I know you guys will give me grief about it in the comments below, but I'm probably splitting hairs here. I give her a 3.5 out of 5. White Queen Ancora. Man, I'm actually going to go higher on this one. I think Ancora was probably the second best reviver that we've had for fusions, unless I'm forgetting somebody. But I would probably call her number 2. We'll talk about number 1 in just a moment here. White Queen Ancora, man, with the cleanse and the turn meter feel and the shield and the great revival reset cooldown, the first one after Godseeker and Eerie, but really this passive. to me and how tanky and fast she is and speed in all battles. I give her a 4.5 out of 5. Armand's, I give a 5 out of 5. What do I have to say about Armand's? He's the most notorious, for good reason, arena control champion in the game. He's insane. I love him. Estrid, I give her a 4.5 out of 5, and I'm tempted to go 5 on Estrid. I am a lot higher than your average player on her. I think she's absolutely just so good. Fastest champion in the game, 115 base speed, tied. She's got the extra turn. She got decreased speed, increased attack. Increased speed, increased attack, turn meter fill, extra turn, decreased speed, weaken, decreased turn meter, all in one turn. You can do this. She can deal some damage. She heals. She's the best. She's the best. I love this champion so much. 4.5 out of 5. All right, next up we have Vault Keeper Wixwell. Oh, Wixwell, the community vote. They should do this again because we knocked it out of the park on this dude. I agree 100%. 4 out of 5 rating on Wixwell. This dude redefined Demon Lord Clan Boss. Heck, he's used in a lot of the top teams in Hydra Clan Boss as well. Moreover, I mean, the 100% provoke against bosses, against Head of Decay on the A1. Just an overall incredible champion who really pushed a lot of accounts to new levels, right? So, Vault Keeper Wixwell, the community vote is a 4 out of 5. The Incarnate, 3.5 out of 5. This is Arbiter's Companion champion, and honestly, I am not a fan. That's not to say that this A3 isn't a good ability in a vacuum. A strengthened big version, ally protection big version on a 3-turn cooldown is a solid move. For progression, you know, there's a lot of champions that have it, but that's a lot of damage mitigation, 75% to be exact. Really solid. That being said, the rest of her kit is really underwhelming. She's Arbiter's Companion champion, but you don't really want to put her in any Arbiter team. She doesn't really fit with the Arbiter speed motif at all. I felt like they could have done a lot better. Part of it was the battle of expectations here. I think she's a very average to below average champion. I would give a 2.5 out of 5, a 2.5 out of 5. Even with that solid A3, the rest of the kit, I would not go out and just rush to book her, even in progression accounts. All right, Packmaster Shayak. We're still waiting on the hounds. I feel like every other week I see a video about like, are the hounds coming for Packmaster? Packmaster, I think that 3.5 is a little kind personally. I think that maybe around a 2.5 or 3. Scorid, the half spawn. I did not go for Scorid. Did any of you guys, this is back in August of 2024, so not that far away here. We're creeping up to modern era. Scorid didn't go for, so let's reacquaint ourselves with Scorid's kit. I thought this was a pass for me. I remember Hydra being kind of his claim to fame here. What does he have on the A1? A debuff spread on enemies under Hex. Actually, taking a Hex and placing it on all enemies, my bad. If the target's not under a Hex, will spread another random debuff instead, not bad. A 1 enemy increase attack on this champion, repeats it on all enemies under Hex. And then we have an AoE with a Hex. So a decent Hex applier. I saw decent damage from Scorid, but nothing like absolutely earth-shattering or game-breaking. So I think 3.5 out of 5 sounds good to me. Thor, another freaking champion I didn't go for. Man, 2 fusions in a row that I didn't go for last year. Shame, shame, shame. They give Thor a 4.5 out of 5. I'm still trying to get my freaking hands on poor Thor. Thor has insane damage, very, very, very high damage here with an essential debuff. He brings his own buffs as well. There's a lot to like even beyond just the damage on this guy. I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know. I was going to say 4 out of 5, but I don't have him, so maybe I'll agree with a 4.5. What about you guys? Odds are a lot of you guys watching right now have Thor. What do you objectively rank this dude out of 5? Okay, Brugard Jeroboam. Boom, excuse me. They give him a 3.5 out of 5. Brugard. I went for this dude. Was he a fragment summon? I remember him being fairly easy to get, so I went for him. He has a remove all debuff, a cleanse, excuse me, on a 3-turn cooldown with a shield and a heal. Not bad. He has turn meter fill, chance of increasing the duration of enemies debuffs by 1 turn. Increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. Not a bad ability here, but honestly, I don't know. He feels to me decreasing a cooldown of a random ally skill by 1 turn at a 50% clip. Not too bad. but he does feel like a solid epic, not a solid legendary to me, you know? I don't know. He's not trash, but he's not that great. I'd give him a little bit lower. I'd probably give him a 2.5 or a 3 out of 5. Gretel, they give a 4 out of 5. Hansel and Gretel. Whatever free IPs they can get into the game, they're going to add them, damn it. So go ahead and look out other popular free IPs and then be on the lookout for them in the future. Hansel, I really like. Hansel and Gretel on the same team, I really, really like. Gretel by herself, not a fan. Decreased defense on her A1, a quad hitter on the A2, solid, can ignore some defense there. An AoE on a 3-turn cooldown, decreased turn meter by 25%. Fills his champion's turn meter by 50% whenever an enemy is granted an extra turn. That's really cool. That's really cool. Everything else is Hansel required. I think she's a decent damage dealer, you know, decent, you know, because I do think she has, with Hansel though, she has AoEs and all this stuff, all kinds of cool stuff. But in a vacuum, I'm way off this one. I'm going to give a 2.5 out of 5. Might be the biggest discrepancy here. That being said, though, Hansel and Gretel, all the way up to a 4. All right, Stock the Broken, 4 out of 5. Man, Stock is actually, he's quickly becoming meta even in the arena. I see him in Platinum Arena. I see him on high-end live arena more often as well because of the Arakan Elixir ability. I've been a huge fan of this dude since he was introduced to the game. He's got continuous heals and poisons and instant activation of continuous heals and instant activation of poisons. Moreover, where he's instantly activating his poisons, right? He's also and his continuous heals, he's also boosting turn meter of all allies by 20%. That's pretty damn massive. I really like this guy. Good passive as well. The damage inflicted by poisons and burns will ignore block damage. The block damage is everywhere right now. Everywhere in the arena. With Odin, with Siegfried, with freaking Nice, with especially Neve, Spear of Nyressa. Block damage is everywhere, so it's cool to have a poisoner who can mitigate that. I like Stock. I've spent a long time on Stock here. I'll give him a 4.5 out of 5. I'm that high on him. Lady Noelle is a perfect 5 out of 5, the best reviver fusion of all time. I'm going to say it. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody, right? She's insanely good. Insanely good. I feel like she's underrated. People rate her highly, but not as highly as she should be. To me, again, 5 out of 5. She got speed in arena battles, sure. She's got decreased speed of enemies under freeze. When a sheep expires on an ally, fills their turn meter by 50%, really mitigates that handicap of turn meter after the sheep. She got the beautiful AoE revive, the strongest revive in the game right here. 3-turn cooldown, 50% HP, 50% turn meter, freeze on all enemies at 100% land rate. Are you kidding me? Increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown on all allies, a big heal. She cures sheep. Man, she's so good. She's so good. 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. All right, 2025, the Mad Hatter. Mad Hatter. I was traveling during the Mad Hatter Fusion. I did not complete it, and it's a big bummer because he's really, really good. I think 4.5 out of 5 is actually a fair score. I probably would have given a 4, but I don't have him, and I hate speaking ill on champions that I don't have, but I wish I did. Mad Hatter, here he is. He looks so cool too, right? Doesn't he look? I don't know. Everything about this dude is really cool. He's got an AoE Leech, or excuse me, Hex and Weaken. Where am I seeing Leech over here? Huh? Come on, come on. Ally with the highest crit damage will join the attack. Really, really strong here, having those abilities. Yenseska Grailbraid has one like that too. Very strong. We also have increased duration of all ally buffs. And decreased duration of all debuffs on allies by 1 turn, and then a juicy turn meter fill, all on a 3-turn cooldown. Every 10 turns taken by allies heals them by 20% of their max HP. Every 6 turns taken by enemies puts a true fear on them. Really cool champion on some of the best Titus teams as well as a buff extender. One of the best buff extenders out there. Esme the Dancer, 4 out of 5. Pretty high grade on her, and I agree 100% on this one, guys. I think that Esme's fantastic. You see her on some of the top Hydra Clan Boss teams in the game. AoE with increased attack on all allies on her A1, not an AoE buff, but a single target attack, my bad. An AoE here with the weaken and block buffs, perfect for Hydra, obviously. Increased accuracy, increased speed on all allies, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown, but still nice to have. We have a 100% chance of a full cleanse, or excuse me, a full buff removal rather, on all enemies. Super strong there. My favorite part though is when hit, excuse me, has a 50% chance of changing the attacker's critical hits to weak. I get choked up when I talk about Esme. Excuse me. The active effect is my favorite part. Whenever this champion is hit, increase the turn meter of the ally with the highest attack by 50%. This is busted when paired with a Trunda or whoever your damage dealer is. There's a lot to like in this kit. A lot more than meets the eye. She's super fast. She has a speed in all battles aura as well. Totally agree with the 4 out of 5. Fabian, or Lord Entertainer Fabian. Oh man, Fabian. Listen, I gave Armand's a 5, and damn it, I'm going to give Fabian a 5 out of 5 too. Sure, his utility isn't probably quite as robust as Armand's is outside the arena, but he's such a beast of a champion. And like, his kit is so relentless. It never lets up. It's always just, I mean, removing the buffs, polymorph proof, and then putting skills on cooldown. And then you have petrification you can place. You've got the instant activation of this A2. It's busted. No one can be revived. They're true feared. Oh God, everything this guy does, everything he does is annoying. That makes a really good control champion, by the way. I give him a 5 out of 5. Lizanthier Beast Bane. Didn't go for him. Wasn't super impressed with this one. 4 out of 5 to me is a bit high. You can tell me I'm wrong in the comments below, but I give him a 3.5. I love it. I'm like, 4 out of 5 is just crazy. I give him a 3.5. All right, Ishiyama the Immovable. They give a 4 out of 5 on this dude. I'll be honest, I went for Ishiyama the Immovable. I do think that he is a capable champion. You know, he's not total trash, but I was pretty underwhelmed overall. You know, I'm not enamored by his A2 ability. I don't know. You're looking at a little bit of damage on this guy, but yeah, I'm actually quite lower than the scores, than a 4 out of 5 here. I'm more towards like a 3 on this guy, unfortunately. Tholin Foulbeard. I think he's a really competent damage dealer, a competent dwarf damage dealer. Hellhades.com gives him a 4 out of 5. I can't lie and say that I'm using him a heck of a lot, but again, I'm a super endgame account, right? I like the ignore defense ability. I like that he brings, again, his own buff here. I think you could do a lot worse. The AoE with the weaken on the A1 is really handy as well. I think he was a, I give him maybe a 3.5. Maybe 4 is the right answer, though. But overall, he wasn't an awful fusion. He just wasn't like an S tier, obviously, fusion, in my opinion. Titus, they give a perfect 5 out of 5. I think they've only given, what, 3 5 out of 5s? Brogni, Titus, only 2? And they give it to Titus. Man, it's weird. Titus, everybody was hating on. I wasn't in the early days. Everyone was hating on him. But man, it's just the shield is busted in Plarium. I mean, they said they're not going to nerf him, right? I haven't even addressed this. I feel like everybody's made videos on Plarium. Are they going to nerf him or are they not going to nerf him? They've said they're not going to, but I'd rather just not speak on the issue because you never freaking know. Either way, he's really defining the game. He is the new broken teams that are going to 10x, 20x, the next best team in Hydra, right? So yeah, I mean, such an interesting champion. Even beyond that, he has so much going for him, so much unique stuff in his kit. I just unlocked him at the time of this recording a couple days ago, and I used my Hydra keys already, hence I haven't uploaded a video on him yet. But either way, it's tough to argue with a 5 out of 5 here. Have you seen Bronco's videos? Have you seen Crusen's videos? I mean, the strategies around this guy are just absolutely bonkers. He's definitely a meta-defining champion in a lot of ways, so I can't disagree with the 5 out of 5 on him. There it is, guys. All 77 fusions of all time graded here on the video. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Where am I right? Where am I way wrong? Let me know about it in the comments below. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.